Hello everyone and welcome to another spectacular, what I'm sure to be a spectacular edition of Books and Banter, your Medina Library's video blog as to what the experts are reading. Today with me, the expert of experts, Mary Olson. I think your third appearance here?
Yes.
Wow, a record.
Fourth
appearance, wow. Our first member of the four-time club. So she's going to talk about a wonderful book. I have a couple books I'm going to talk about. None of the usual stuff I have, none of the thrillers, the super action ones, more atmospheric, more character-driven books on my end, so a little bit more of a calm episode perhaps. But anyway, we have some wonderful reads for you. A little bit of housekeeping. First of all, this Saturday, the 20th, the Medina Bee Festival will be here at the Medina Library from, I believe, 10 to 2, somewhere in there. You can check our website for the exact times. All kinds of activities for all ages, so come check that out. Also, Lucky Breaks, some new Lucky Breaks. We have Danielle Steele's new one, Iris Johansson's new one, and Janet Ivanovich, and do you know the other guy she wrote with? Yeah, kind of co-authored one, not a Stephanie Plum one. We can agree on that.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Not a Stephanie Plum one, but one of those, I'm sure Ivanovich and Summer Reed are like synonymous, so I'm sure it'll be wonderful. So check those books out in the Lucky Break section at the Medina Libraries. Okay, so, Mary, what do you got today?
I have a great summer read. Very story-driven, very setting-driven, character-driven story. This is Palisades Park by Alan Brenner. And when this came out in the spring, we looked at the cover and we all said, oh, I think this would appeal to the folks who remember Chippewa Lake Park. Just one of those awesome summer places where you can go and just be a kid.
Right.
Kind of forget your worries for a little while. This story follows a family, starts in the 1920s and it ends in 1971 when Palisades Park closed. So it's the story of the Stopka family. It's Eddie and his wife Adele and their two children, Tony and Jack. And they're dreamers. It's a family of dreamers. Eddie and Adele meet on the boardwalk at Palisades Park. He's working for one booth and she's working for another booth. They fall in love really quickly, and before too long they're leasing the French fry booth by the pool. They have their two young children. They're trying to raise them. And they live right around Palisades Park, and everybody who works at the park is their family. They're their caregivers, and they all look out for each other so much. And it just follows their story through World War II, where Pearl Harbor is bombed pretty shortly after the kids are born, and Eddie volunteers to go. He doesn't have to enlist, but he volunteers to go. And he's stationed in Hawaii, where he's a mechanic on the aircraft carriers and big transport ships. And Adele is left at home to manage the French fry booth and to raise these two kids on her own, and she really resents Eddie for going. He didn't have to go, and all these people had to go and went, and she just resents that he went. So when Eddie comes home, everything's kind of changed in his family, and that's where the story really picks off, that their daughter Tony grows up and she's going to pursue her dream of being a high diver.
Okay.
Jack grows, he's more sensitive, he's a writer and a cartoonist, but he goes off to the Korean War later, and just what happens to him in the Korean War just changes his life dramatically too. So the story just follows the life of the park and the life of this family, and they're so intertwined. The description in this book is amazing. You will smell the fries and the malt vinegar, and you'll hear the kids screaming on the rides. There's a couple fires that happened at Palisades Park that really happened.
Okay.
And so they're written into the story here, and Adele was able to save her kids while Eddie's away from a huge fire at Palisades Park that destroyed a large portion of the park. It's a setting book, it's a character book. There isn't really that mystery or that suspenseful thing that carries you to the end. You just want to see what happens to the family. You want to see how it all works out for them. So I would recommend this to anybody who really just wants to escape, to go to another place in time. It's a really special time in American history. It's never going to be recreated. We're never going to have parks of that type and people of this type either. It's a great easy summer read. And for a drink pairing, because Eddie spent all this time in Hawaii, he really loved Hawaii and Polynesia. I have to say it's the Singapore Sling, because when Eddie creates his own Polynesian restaurant, that's the first thing he serves. And Singapore Sling has gin, cherry, and orange liqueurs, and it has bitters and pineapple and lime juice. And I think it's one of those drinks that they only allow you to have one for good reason. So Palisades Park by Alan Brenner. Great summer read.
Very good, very good. To play off the whole summer and theme park, Stephen King's Joyland is set in the 70s, and kind of this half amusement park, half like old school Carney type atmosphere. It's like the precursor to the big what Cedar Point has become in Disney World and all those types of things. But funny enough, I think it's the second time we've done that. Our
Not planned at all.
Yeah, not planned at all. This is all off the cuff, folks, in case you haven't picked up on that already. So Joyland, a very un-Stephen King-ish type book. It's not the horror element that he usually brings. It's obviously not the 1,000-page opus that something like Under the Dome is or anything like that. But again, a very good summer read. Devin Jones, who is one of my all-time favorite characters already, he goes through this summer where he kind of learns about himself, learns about the ups and downs of love, kind of exploring what he's going to do. He's graduating from high school, going to college, all that kind of thing. Actually, I think he's on his first year of summer break from college. But just kind of finding his way in life. And he takes a job at this Joyland, which is this old school amusement park. Again, these types of places don't exist anymore. What's really wonderful about this book is how Stephen King uses the language, the talk, and they refer to learning the talk, what the carnival folk call the rides, and all their different names for everything. So that language really makes this book go really well. There is a mystery, there's a little bit of paranormal, there's a ghost involved, those types of Stephen King, usual Stephen King type things. But it's just a fun book about this atmosphere. Again, the atmosphere that's created, and this character, Devin, that he gets involved. There's a murder that happens in the park, and he gets involved in figuring out what happened and who's behind it, and if the culprit's still on the loose, that type of thing. But he's just a great kid. He's fun. You can really relate to him. He's very refreshing, like my drink pairing, like a German Riesling. I've talked about him before, the cabinets especially, just because they're so crisp. I have one that's really wonderful. This is Heinz Eifel Riesling. This is the Spatlese, so it's a little bit sweeter, not as dry as I usually like them. But it's a wonderful summer drink. It's just got that nice crisp acidity, some apples, some peaches. It's just a wonderful wine, and this one you can pick up a lot of grocery stores. It costs about $10. I think Heinz Eifel just started coming on the U.S. market a couple years back. At least that's when I first found them, around here at least. So just a wonderful little drink. Big ups. This is a huge summer read. It's very, very fun. Wonderful book from Stephen King. Just a couple other ones. One to be on the lookout. One of my favorite authors, current favorite authors, Chevy Stevens. Always Watching. She's a Canadian author. This is her third book. They all revolve around Nadine Lavoie. That's how I'm going to say it. Lavoie, maybe. That's her main character. She's a psychiatrist. And all of the other books, especially the first one, which was called Still Missing, very room-like. It had to do with an abduction and growing up this was an adult instead of a child, like it was in Room. But going through that experience. And Nadine always helps the victims, and that's she's always in the background. But this is her story. You find out why she's claustrophobic. You kind of find out the backstory of why her daughter left her, and her daughter's missing for 7 years now. It deals with like cult activity and things like that. Very, very atmospheric again. Always a very interesting read. Again, one of my favorites. I'm really looking forward to get into this. I'd pair this with like an old Bordeaux or an old Cabernet, because there's that character, that development, that stuff that goes into making us what we are, and I think that kind of goes along with the development of Nadine. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Finally, well, I'm going to bring this up.
Yes.
Execution of Noah P. Singleton. I was big on this book. A couple weeks back. It was supposed to be this summer's great read. It was supposed to be a Gillian Flynn, missing girl. It was this summer's book of that. Defending Jacob got thrown in there. Coach's Dinner, Cox Dinner, however you say his last name. One of my favorite books of this year. To me, did not live up to the hype. I'm going against all of the big reviewers. They're saying this is a summer read. To me, it's not a summer read. And I don't really want to bash it. It's not that bad. But it's very, to me, kind of slow at times. It does get into characters, and the characters, they're not real nice people. They're not real people that you want to hang out with and enjoy a dinner with. It's just kind of unlikable, but not like the dinner, where it felt like it moved, it went really well. The story kind of drags at times for me. I would still recommend it, but not really as a summer read. Pick this up if you want to. I'm not going to say it's a bad book. It does feel like this is her initial book, Elizabeth L. Silver, her first book. It does feel like a first book to me. It doesn't quite live up to the hype, but not a bad book. Kind of reminds me of a California Chardonnay. Noah, Noah, who is on death row, and the mother of her victim shows up a couple months before she's supposed to be executed and tries to get her exonerated. So you really learn about these characters. A lot of the chapters are about the backstory, the relationship between these two individuals, relationship between Noah and the person she murdered, all kinds of relationships. So the California Chardonnay, like an unoaked or a naked or a stainless steel one, it's not cluttered by oak, it is what it is. And that's kind of what it reminds me, the characters in this book remind me of that type of style of Chardonnay. So anyway, this is available. There's probably a waiting list on it because of so much hype. Everyone and their mother has reviewed it, and now I have too. So that's it. Thank you for joining us again. You can find me on Twitter, books_banter guy, and we will see you in the stacks.